Hey everyone, it's Matt Krevin with Talk Shop with another episode of the Insider Interview Series. Today I'm joined by Blake Harris. First of all, I'd like to say welcome and thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
You bet. So the first thing I want to do is have you just share briefly the company that you're currently with and what you guys do, because I think that'll dovetail nicely into how important face-to-face conversations and communication skills are. So why don't you first just tell us who you're with, if you're willing to plug a website or a Twitter handle. Let's get that out of the way and have you share with us what you're up to currently.
Yeah, so the company that I'm currently with is Waldron HR, and so we help support our clients on two sides. Each practice. One practice is our effective organizations practice, which is around leadership development. We do executive coaching, we do board work, assessment work, and then the other practice is our career transition practice, and that's around outplacement services, helping our clients and their employees who have been impacted or let go find that next step in their professional career. So, anyone that's curious, please check us out at waldronhr.com. That's WALDRONHR.com. And given the impact of the COVID stuff right now, I think it's especially important for us to help one another. And so we have recently put up some free resources for job seekers who don't have career transition support from their employers and maybe navigating that on their own. So we have some free resources up on the website that could be very useful for those looking to get back in the job market and find a new job.
Absolutely. And I talk about a pivotal and timely skill. So let's do it one more time. Let's get that website out one more time.
WaldronHR.com.
And Waldron is spelled
WALDRONHR.com.
Perfect. How about that? Two plugs for the price of one. No, that's it's helpful. And the reason I ask people to share that on the front end is that kind of helps put some things in terms of the rest of our conversation into context. So what I like to do, that being said, in a maybe, I don't know how much alignment there is, but in a way, how you guys and what you do with your business platform is helping those that are displaced on the career placement side. I'm working with college and or high school students to teach them how valuable it is to have this skill set, to be able to communicate face-to-face, whether it's an interview, whether you're networking. So that being said, kind of set the table for you a little bit there. Maybe there are some stories that you can share either about yourself as you were networking with someone or interviewing, some things that you did that worked well, perhaps maybe some things that you learned from, or you can share a story about when someone was interviewing or networking with you, something that worked well or something that didn't. I'm not sure if you'd like to take both of those or one, but let me start with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, in terms of whether it's networking or interviewing, I think anytime when you have these face-to-face conversations, and especially in a setting where sometimes could be even rapid fire and quick when you're thinking of networking, especially the ability to really internalize the conversation and give yourself the space to think through your answers and the conversation you're having is extremely important, right? So often we get in our heads and when we're having a conversation with someone, what we're thinking about is, instead of actually hearing what they're saying and internalizing it and really formulating a response, what we oftentimes do is we're thinking through the answer and what can we say right away and to not have that awkward silence or to not just to be able to respond in a quick manner versus actually giving yourself the time to internalize it, think through it, and then really provide a appropriate response or answer.
Great point, because I think the nerves, there's maybe, I don't know if you want to call it, people are anxious. I'm not going to say people have anxiety, but look, when you're going into a live setting like that, some people just get nervous, and I think it's okay to have a little fire in your gut, at least in my opinion. If you're not nervous, then you're probably not ready, if you will. But I think what you're saying, I don't want to put words back in your mouth, but instead of just working and waiting for just the right answer, one that you think they, meaning the other person, wants to hear, be a little more genuine and listen truly to the question? Is that, I want to repeat it, but I want to summarize that. Did I catch that right?
Yeah, that's 100% correct. Yeah, really being able to internalize it, being genuine, being authentic in your answer, and giving yourself the grace to not always have to have the right answer, right?
Right.
But being able to have the answer that's authentic and true to you.
Is there an example or two, Blake, that you can share when you were networking? Maybe it was early on, right after your college career, into the first job, whatever that might have been. Any networking tips that you used then that you've maybe since enhanced? And again, the spirit of the question, meaning any tips or guidance, some things that's worked well for you personally. And then I'm going to flip that question around to when someone's asked you to network. So first question first, though, what worked for you either early on and something that you've refined to what you have used currently?
Yeah, I think what's worked early on, and has, and I think I've refined and evolved and gotten better at, is just the idea of follow up and follow through, right? So when you're networking with someone or you're at a networking event, you meet an individual. Maybe even it's not necessarily a conversation that right off the bat you see a huge fit or things clicked or there was a necessary follow up action, but being able to still capture that person's contact information, whether it's via their card or their email address, whatever it may be, and then follow up and thank them for the conversation, was something that I learned very early on, and has always been useful, and people are appreciative of it. And what I've noticed that is that even with conversations that I didn't necessarily see as a networking opportunity or something that was going to progress, right away, months down the road, it actually has turned into a connection that was really beneficial for me, right, or mutually beneficial for both of us. So just that follow up, just making sure people know that you are appreciative of the conversation, and just the idea that kind of never knowing what any one conversation or connection could end up down the road.
Absolutely. And, look, again, through the eyes and ears, if you will, of today's young adults, the emerging workforce, right? These, they're for the most part, the ones that have been grown up with some piece of technology either close to their hand or in their hand. I'm going to get on a soapbox for a minute, and there is a question wrapped up here somewhere. I know it, but they're very versed and very well skilled at communicating in their own way over that medium, over that platform, over a device. But when it comes time to meet with someone like yourself, a Blake Harris, face to face, how would you guide someone to be consistent in maybe what they post on their social media platform versus the time when the opportunity presents itself to meet with someone like you? How would you guide someone to be consistent, to have that continuity, if you will, how they show up?
Yeah, that's a great question, Matt. And I think it brings up a really good point, and that is kind of this belief that I have, that always being your authentic self, always being your genuine self. So you'll hear me talk a lot about just authenticity and how important it is to be genuine. And so to kind of answer that question and also discuss, maybe some concerns that I've seen in the youth today, or where people can get in trouble with what they tweet out, right, and what they say on Twitter or social media is, don't be that person that is tweeting things to be cool, or tweeting things to do or fit in with the popular crowd. Be your authentic self, so that same person, those same tweets that you're saying and the same sentiments that you are expressing, on your Twitter or on your Instagram or Facebook, is going to be the same person that shows up in that face-to-face interview, right? The last thing you ever want to do, and especially if you're thinking about it from a networking perspective or from a job perspective, is show up as a different person, right? Different person than you are on the phone, different person than you are on social media. Always be your authentic self, always be your genuine self. And at least that way no one could fault you for being who you are, right?
Absolutely. I want to pose another question at you real quick. Again, this one is, you're interviewing someone, a young college student or fresh out of college. They may have some practical experience, maybe internships, volunteer work, what have you, but then there might be some that just don't. but they get the chance to meet with you. And that's what you just said in terms of being genuine and being authentic. But look, there again, I mentioned it earlier, there are some nerves that are going to come in. Do you agree or disagree with the concept of someone coming in to meet with you, a polished executive that's got years of experience, and they maybe throw out a little icebreaker versus them waiting for you to ask them a question, which is kind of the standard. I think that's the norm. Let me stop there and just ask the question: how do you react to someone coming in and interviewing? Just whether it's just icebreaker as you're walking into the conference room or the room that you're meeting in, but having them just start the rapport, maybe to calm them down, get them centered in a way. You agree or disagree, or maybe that depends person to person, control versus not. General concept. Do you think that's a good approach for a college student to have?
I think so. I think that's great. I mean, I think it shows the effort to not only break the ice, but to initiate the conversation. I think, to your point, it is often perceived that in the interview process, it's myself as the executive or the executive on the other side of the table is the one doing all the asking of questions and really guiding the interview. When in all actuality, I think the best interviews that I could think of that I've either been in myself as being the interviewee or interviewing someone else is those interviews that are a two-way street. It's a conversation,
Right.
and it goes back and forth. We're learning a little bit about one another because there is some level of feeling each other out. It's not just the person who's interviewing the interviewee or the person that's trying to get the job. It should be a two-way conversation, a two-way street. So I think the idea of opening it with an icebreaker or posing a question is great. And I would say to even one up that, if it can be a question that is where they show that they've done a little bit of research, right? So they've done some research about the company, or they've done some research about this person that's interviewing them. I think that even shows a little more effort and is something that I would be impressed with personally.
Which you just almost read my mind, something that you would be impressed with. I want to pick right up there because I like to always end with that question, and that is, what would not necessarily impress you, but what captures Blake Harris's attention? And here's what let me ask the question: when someone is asking to network with you, whether it's over an email first and then it's a phone call, or if it's face to face, let me just start there. What captures your attention from a young adult? Maybe it's something they say, the way they say it, the way they communicated with you. I'll leave it be. What captures your attention?
Yeah, I think for me, it's what are they either discussing in the message or in maybe they're reaching out. They have a LinkedIn profile. What are they either saying in their direct message to me? What are they showcasing on their LinkedIn profile that is going to capture my attention? That is going to say, oh, this is someone who's different than everyone else. This is someone that I should take the time to connect with, because the reality is all of us that are working are busy and our time is limited. So to take the time out to network or to take time out to get to know someone, you kind of have to do something that sticks out a little bit. And so the first thing is, what are they saying that either is capturing my attention? What are they communicating via their profile is capturing my attention? And then I think the third thing for me, and maybe I'm a little bit old school in this sense, is just organization. So are they articulating? Is their message formulated in a way that is very articulate, concise? The grammar is correct, all that stuff, because it just shows that they've taken the time and the effort to actually send you a message or communicate with you in a way that shows that you are important to them.
Almost a perfect chance to product plug, but that's exactly what Talk Shop is here for, is to help these high school students and these college students, give them that skill set. How do they articulate themselves when they get the chance to meet with someone like you, not only in the written word, but when they get the chance to meet with someone? What's their presence like, and can they share their value, their vision? Can they share their brand? And I always tell people, look, no one's going to brand you any better than you can yourself. So be ready for that. Last question: if someone's ever put their arm around you in a business sense and said, Blake, there's some guidance I want to share with you as it relates to what you should think about as your career evolves and develops, any pearls of wisdom, any nuggets that's just stuck with you from early on in your career that's always resonated, that you're willing to part with in terms of that advice, what would it be if you have anything?
Yeah, it's a great one, and I think it speaks to communication, but in a nonverbal sense. So we've talked a lot about verbal and written communication, but verbal communication in a nonverbal sense. And I got some feedback from a manager that I had in my previous role that I when I was in meetings, I would cross my arms, and I just did it as a pure sense of that was comfortable for me, right? I crossed my arms, and that was just me being comfortable.
Right.
Um, but the way it came off to others was that I was either upset or bored or in a defensive fashion. And although that was totally not my intention, you still have to think about and understand the way that others are perceiving you. Whether that's the way that you're expecting them to take it or you want them to take it or not, people's perception is still what's most important at the end of the day. So although I didn't mean anything by it, people were still perceiving it that way. So it was just a good lesson learned and a good reminder for me is that always think about and always be conscious of what you're doing with your nonverbal because you never know who may be taking it in a way that is unintentional.
Yeah, no, great tips. Clearly, nonverbal and how you show up in terms of, yeah, your body language, certainly a big piece of it. So, no, appreciate that. For anyone that has enjoyed this video or found any of the information useful, it's all useful in my mind, but hopefully you find it useful. Please feel free to share it out with others. Let's share the knowledge, right? Blake Harris, I appreciate you taking some time and sharing your insight with today's emerging workforce. So thanks a lot. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, Matt.